Hi guys, it's Matt here from Pilot Practice Exams. So this video, I want to outline for you how virtually anyone can pass their pilot exams with ease, with confidence, and without costly and time-consuming fails. And you really can. So just stick with me in this video. There's a few things I need to run through. I'm going to show you the 3 secrets that will help you get there, and why you can't do it the old way. So bear with me, believe me, for your piloting journey, which you're going to invest a lot of time and money in. This video will really be worth it. So let's get into it. So there's 3 secrets that you need for success, and I'm going to cover each of those in this video. Now, just before I do, let me dive in. You don't just take my word for it. Jump in our Facebook group, talk to our other students. They absolutely love the site, and they love it for a very good reason, and that's because it works. Here's just a couple of examples before we get into it. Mitch, now this one, I don't advocate doing this, and Mitch and I have spoken about this, and Mitch, after doing this exam, has gone and done a fair bit of study out of the textbook just to make sure he knows it all. But Mitch actually scored 95% just by using this site without ever opening a textbook in his BAK exam, which is one of the hardest ones. So then Beck, she scored 95%, and she attributes a large part of her success to this course. She's been instrumental in jumping in the group and helping others out, as have a number of others like Kane and Jason Matheson and Dominic and a few others. So Rob also says, that this site was great for his passing. So don't just take my word for it. Jump in the group, listen to the others. It really is a great community that's evolving. So I'm a coach, I'm an educator, I've been in this game for 20 years. I'm actually a qualified teacher and have taught for 12 years to HSC level with lots of students scoring above 98. And I know exactly how to get you there. So, just trust me on this and let's jump in. Now, I have the data from, actually have the data now from over 60,000 exams, but I did this when we were at about 18,000. And the first attempt, most people fail. Second attempt, they score around about 20% more. Brings them up to around about sort of the high 60s, early 70s. And there's a bit of variation there, but that's the average. On the third attempt, they jump around about another 15 on average, so that's getting them, into the 80s, 85s. And then it starts to taper off, and with each repetition they do, they get higher. But basically, we know the repetition works. It really does work. So, and I'll deal with that later in the video. So I need a very quick disclaimer to keep my lawyer happy. So, it doesn't ever replace, this website never replaces your textbook and your instructor. Your instructor is the one that's liable. They're the one that's trained to instruct you. Listen to them, ask them, follow them, double check everything with them. I am not a qualified instructor. You need to understand that. Do not hold me liable. I'm just here to bridge that gap between what the textbooks and the exams have and what the instructors can't give you because of their availability and cost and time, etc. So if you don't agree that you will never sue me, okay, sorry, I'm not liable, you can't sue me, don't sue me, don't proceed unless you agree to that right now. And that includes your family, okay? Now, one more thing. I make very little money off this site, so please play nicely, jump in, be respectful of me and all the other people in the group, because this is basically a big favour to the piloting community. So, here's the 3 secrets to success. Secret number 1 is why lots of people can't pass exams reading the huge textbooks, okay? CASA themselves publishes the data, and 34% on average of people fail every single piloting exam. So, that's just ridiculous. So, your chances of failure are high. Now, I'll get into in secret number 3, but actually our smartest people, our architects, our engineers, our, analytical type computer programmers, they're the ones that struggle the most, okay? So don't just think because you're smart you're going to get through, and I'll explain why later. Okay, now you can try it the old way, but the problem is this. The problem with the old way is this. You read and you forget 90% of what you read. So you reread and you forget 90% of that. But now you're up to about 20% recollection. You read again, you forget 90%, you're up to about, say, 27%. I don't know, you need to do the compound maths. But you can see, you've read through the textbook 3 times and you've still forgotten 70-something%. Okay? So, as I said, CASA publishes the figures, 34% fail doing this way. Now, the other problem is this. Even if you continue reading, you get up to the point where you know, say, 50%. But then the problem is this. The textbooks are just massive. Sorry, I thought I had them here. They're in the other room. But the textbooks are just massive. So, you forget. By the time you get through, you're forgetting what you read in the start. And then the other problem is this. Life gets busy. You know, you're starting to get ready for an exam, and all of a sudden, you know, someone has a baby, or you've got to go away, someone gets sick, work interferes. And this is just a pattern that I see repeated over and over and over when people try and do it the whole way, and they fail because they think they're ready because they've done lots of study, and that's just, nothing could be further from the truth. Okay? So the fact is, life gets chaotic, and we have these imperfect brains that forget lots of things. So we need a better way. And that's what I've done is, when I did my pilot exams, I worked out that this system sucked. So I came up with a better way. People studying the old way fail, and I've now created a better way. So what if there was a way that doesn't have to be so hard, okay? A way that makes it easy, a way that, this is the key thing, a way that engages your brain every step of the way. Would you like that? Okay? Let's take a look. Okay, so I've based this site on 3 incredibly powerful memory techniques that I used repeatedly with HSC students, and it worked. Okay? So we tap into these 3 powerful techniques called chunking, repetition, and forced memorization. Now, chunking, none of these are super complex things, but they're incredibly powerful, okay? Chunking means breaking it down into bite-sized chunks that your brain can cope with. Okay, if I bombard you with this much information, you're not going to remember it. You're going to remember like this much. And that's the problem with reading huge textbooks. We're not chunking it, okay? We're just reading through and we're forgetting. Okay, but if we break it into bite-sized chunks, topics, then we can memorize it. Repetition's just simple. The more times you're exposed to something, the better it is. And our exams allow you to do that because you can quickly do them and they self-mark. So you can do it over and over. Whereas when you're doing paper ones in the books, you can't do that. And forced memorization means this. When you do our practice exams, I'll get to our system, but when you do our practice exams, you know, because of our system, you know that after you've done an exam, you're going to go hunting in the textbook, find the answers, and you know that you're going to come back and be tested on it. So that's what we call forced memorization. When you're reading, when you go and find this information, you're reading it knowing in your brain that you're going to be retested on that. Okay, so it's forced memorization. So they're the 3 techniques that we use, and they just work. Okay, trust me, they work. Okay, now, this is why paper exams in your textbooks where you self-mark them don't work, or why our system is far better. We use random question order, we use random answer order, and we have a huge variety. Now let me tell you why the paper ones don't work and why ours do. The paper ones, the problem is there's no variety, they're in a set order, and the answers are in a set order. So the thing that happens is this. Have you ever been to the ATM and you thought, shit, I can't remember my PIN number, okay? And you put your fingers there, and all of a sudden your muscles start to remember it. Or maybe you've had a few beers, and the same thing, you've gone to the ATM and thought, oh, what's my PIN? And then you just put your hand on there and gone like that. That's because our muscle memory is incredibly powerful. It's why tennis players can play tennis without even thinking about what they're doing. They're making decisions, but they can hit the ball through muscle memory. Okay? Well, they've learnt to become autonomous. And the problem is when you do exams, paper exams, you become autonomous. Okay? You remember the location of the answer or that actual answer rather than the content that you need to know to pass the exam. So, let's quickly take a look at a couple of other people, just so you know, this isn't me rambling on, this is proof, okay? Dominic, he got 100%, he said, must have learned something in his BAK exam. Great guy, and he's, he'll be in the group with you, and he and Kane and a bunch of others are in there helping out everyone. So, Kane, you'll see quite a lot of feedback from Kane. He's got in there, pilot exams have been so instrumental in my theory training. Okay? Thor said he highly recommended the site, and a number of co-students on his course are already using the site. The questions cover most of the subjects that he's been tested on for his RPL and his PPL. Now, so let's get into secret number 2, how to slash your study time. This is a big one that lots of people really want to know. How can you really slash it, down to a half, a third, a quarter, everybody's different, but that's the type of results that we're getting from some people. So there's the old way where you read all the books, and the problem is you read and forget, read and forget, and read and forget. And the problem is this, you waste so much time studying things you already know and skipping things you don't know, and then getting bad practice exam results, but you don't really know, what's going on, okay? But the worst part is this, you have no clue what you know and what you don't. Okay, so that's the old way, and that's really slow because you're wasting time studying things you already know, and you're skimming over things you don't, and then you're sitting practice exams having no idea whether you're ready or not. So here's how pilot practice exams makes it much, much, much faster. Instead of studying aimlessly through your textbooks, okay, we study with laser focus. Every time we go to that big textbook, okay, we go hunting with a clear focus about what we're going to the textbook for. So here's how it works. You don't start by studying. What you do is you start by doing an exam. So let's say you're going to do your BAK. Don't go to the textbook and start reading BAK. Go to the practice exams and sit an actual exam. Now, do this for 2 reasons. 1, we want to know before we go and study what you already know and what you don't. Okay. 2, we want to establish a baseline so that we know where your knowledge was before you started, so that you can, this is important, so that you can learn what study techniques work for you. So when you first start studying your practice, your pilot exams, it might be years since you've done any sort of formal study, and you might have forgotten what works for you and what doesn't, or you might have never done any real formal study and you just have no clue how to study. Okay, establishing a baseline will let you go and do study one of the ways that we recommend or other students recommend, and then you can see how much it made you improve. And if it made you improve, say, 25%, and then when you go and, say, sit your next exam, which might be on a different topic, and you study a different one, and it only made you improve, say, 12%, clearly you can see that one of these versions of study is better for you, and you can go back to that one and try that one. Okay, so it's very important to establish a baseline. Then what we do, after we've done an exam, we study. We don't just randomly study. We don't pick up the textbook and just start reading. What we do is we go, okay, what questions did I fail? You look up that content. You go to the textbook, into the contents table. You go directly to that topic and you study just that topic. Now, let's say you sat the practice exam and you got 50% wrong. Most practice exams are, say, around about 20, 30 questions. That means you've got 15 things that you're going to go, if you got 50%, you've got 15 things 15 things that you've got, that you're going to head to the textbook, look up the contents, go and study. Then you're going to, at some point, you're going to go, oh, I want to see where I'm up to again. You go back, you do the test. It's going to be much quicker this time because you already know some of these ones that you got right the first time. So you're going to race through them, and then you're going to get to the questions that you got wrong, and you're going to think, what did I just learn? And boom, you're going to answer those questions, and all of a sudden you might be up to, say, on average, you'll be up to, say, 70%. So if it's a 30 mark question, you've now got, say, around about 8 or 9 questions that you're going to get wrong again, and you're going to go back to the textbook, but this time you're going to know where to find them because you've already got their pages, okay? You're going to know a bit about them because you've already studied a bit on it. And it gets quicker and quicker and quicker. And what happens is you quickly nail it down, and now you've got 4 wrong, 3 wrong, 2 wrong, 1, and now you're scoring perfectly in that topic, okay? So that's one of the reasons it's so fast. So you go through this process where you go exam, study, exam, study, exam, study, until you're ready, okay? Now, later I'll teach you when you're ready, but so some of the reasons that you're going to use this, you're going to use it to identify what to study and your baseline. You're going to find topics of concern. It's going to boost your confidence, especially if you keep track of your scores. I recommend you keep a paper book with all your scores written in it, or that you set up a spreadsheet or notes on your phone or whatever, but please keep track of your scores. And not only that, keep track of what type of study you did. So if you used a highlighter, okay, note it down that, hey, I scored this, I did study using a highlighter, and I got this in my next exam. If you just read, okay, I scored this, I read, I got this in my next exam. Keep a track of that, because that is going to become incredibly powerful as you progress through all of your pilot exams. And then what it's going to do is it's going to let you identify smaller and smaller gaps, narrow your focus, narrow your study. Okay, so let's move on. Chris, this is brilliant. Chris, he did 3 exams in one day. He did a 96, a 94, and one that he, at that point when he messaged this to me, he didn't have his BAK result, but he knew he'd passed. Okay, you know, and he says the website is awesome. It made all the difference. Rick passed his BAK exam 90%. It should have been a bit higher, but he crossed out the wrong box. I got it right $100,000 in the practice exam. So it goes to show, you know, mistakes still happen, but this prepares you very well, okay? The big thing is here, all my students are going into exams, not only with the content, but exam ready, okay? Because they've done so many practice questions. Rick, clicked over that. Rick did human factors yesterday. He got 90%. He says, Matt, the site is fantastic learning tool. So your site and exams are a great guide what to study. Thanks again. Okay. Right. Now let's get into secret number 3. Sorry, it's hidden over here behind me. Ambiguity. Right. So one of the problems I said early up was some of our really smart people just struggle. Right. And the problem is this. CASA and RAOs, and I've had conversations with them about this, build ambiguity into their exams. Now, they do it on purpose. And one of the reasons they do it is, if we just ask, say, 50 straightforward questions, people can go and rote learn the content, and they can just vomit the content back out and pass the exam. If you include some ambiguity, okay, if you twist the questions a little bit, what you're checking is you're checking understanding, right? You're checking, wow, can this person know this in a slightly different context? So it checks a higher level. Now, CASA didn't say this. They just said that they have ambiguous questions in there on purpose. I'm working this in from my educational training and my educational experience. So ambiguity will test people's deeper level of understanding. And they leave it in there on purpose. Now, at one stage, I started taking all the ambiguity out of my questions because people were complaining about it. But then what happened was I started to take out so much that some people started to complain, or not complain, they started to give me feedback that, hey, there was these, you know, crazy questions in there that I wasn't expecting, and it threw me. And so I put some ambiguity back in to prepare you for the exact type of questions that you'll get. Now, here's one of the interesting things, and you'll see it in the Facebook group from time to time. What will happen is we'll get an engineer or an architect or a programmer, someone who's in this really analytical, you know, exact type of work, precise, you know, they deal with precision every day, especially engineers and that. And they're really, really smart people, and they should be able to pass a pilot exam, you know, like that. What happens is they come in, they sit my practice exams, and they'll come into the group or they'll email me or something. I'll just go, look, you know, and they'll just have this like, this sucks, you know, they have this moment, okay, that they go through, this mini breakdown, I guess. And the problem is this, they're used to precision in their work, and when they get these ambiguous questions thrown at them, and sometimes they are terribly ambiguous, they don't know how to cope. So that's one of the other great things or secrets about practice exams and why you need them. Because you don't want to rock into an exam and face that for the first time in your exam, okay? Now, some of the textbooks are pretty clinical. They're written by people that have been in the game for, you know, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. They've been airline pilots or in the military, etc. They're precision people. And that's a problem because CASA and RAOs have worked in this ambiguity. And if you aren't used to coping with it, if you haven't seen it before, you're just going to get this shock. You're going to get thrown you're probably going to get that question wrong, and it's going to throw you for like 5 or 10 minutes later. It's going to play on your brain. So instead of answering the next question and just moving on, you're going to like have this, moment of confusion and turmoil in the exam, and you don't want that. So in our practice exams, and this is secret number 3, you need to get used to ambiguity. You need to deal with it, okay? So let's take a deeper look. Use PPE to know when you're ready, okay? Go into every exam with loads of practice, repetition, and the exact types of questions, which includes that ambiguity I just touched on. So remember I said I'd teach you how to know when you're ready. So we said way back you want to use PPE to identify what to study and your baseline, okay? You want to use it to find topics of concern down here. You want to identify the exact types of questions you're going to be asked. Okay, you want to get used to all the ambiguous and trick questions. Now, when you're over here, when you are move me over here. When you're consistently scoring above 80%, it's time to book your exam. Okay, you are going to be ready soon. So generally, it takes about a week and a half to book in for an exam when you and your instructor and school or whatever can find a time. So if you're constantly scoring above 80%, you're ready to book. Okay, then it's time to narrow your focus and just focus on the questions you're just getting wrong. Head to the textbook, study it, go to the content, check it. Okay, just keep going. Exam, textbook. But don't just go to the textbook. Go to the content section, to the exact section that you need. Right? Identify, and then learn those last few that you're getting wrong. So if you've got, say, 3 or 4 questions you keep getting wrong, just rote learn them. There's nothing wrong with rote learning. There's problems with rote learning everything, but when you start getting to tiny little, 2, 3, 4 questions you're constantly getting wrong, just rote learn them, write them out, say them 10 times. Ask yourself, twist it around in your mind. Highlight it, draw a picture that relates to it, okay? Just rote learn that section. And then when you're consistently scoring above 90%, this is only an opinion, I think you're ready. I think you will pass your exams. Okay? So that's going to give you a huge amount of confidence in knowing when to book your exam and knowing when you're ready to pass your exam. I'd prefer to see you at 100%, but if you're consistently scoring above 90%, mistakes do happen. We have tiny little memory lapses, but in my opinion, you'll get over the line, especially for those exams that have 70% pass marks as opposed to the 80% ones. So, here's just one other benefit of PPE. Now, I give you unlimited access for 12 months. Now, it's really important you understand that that is a huge benefit and you need to use it, because just quickly pay attention to this. When you start your lessons, you have this tiny little knowledge bank down here. You rapidly improve, okay? And when you're exam ready, you have this big, bank of knowledge in your head on that particular topic. What happens is, after we pass our exams, we go on to the next exam. And that body of knowledge that we just had on, say, BAK shrinks. And then we continue down with less study, and it shrinks again. Now, it never ends up back where it started, but it does reduce, and I give you access for 12 months. Go back in and stay proficient. Find out, after 2 months, 3 months, a month, 6 months, whatever. Keep going back in and testing yourself and using that repetition to commit it to long-term memory. Okay? This site will get you through the exams. It'll make it super fast, but if you use it for the whole 12 months, even after you pass the exams, then what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to commit this stuff to really long-term memory. Okay, just another testimony. This is Kane. He's a classic, man. He's just so involved in the Facebook group. He's such a smart guy. I think he's an incredibly successful businessman. I just wanted to throw this in here because he sent this photo into the Facebook group one day. He's sitting up at the some of the Waters Golf Resort and Spa up around Caloundra there, studying on his iPad. Now, this also reminds me, I think it's Dominique, one of the guys sent in feedback saying that the best thing about pilot practice exams was that they had it on their phone. And he was a father of 4, and once he got home, the daughters are all over him and stuff, and so he couldn't. It was like 10:30 at night before he could study. So he was finding that his phone during his morning tea break, during his lunch break, on the commute, was really handy to be able to pull up the website and do practice exams while he was on the commute. So I guess they just paid a bit extra data. But, this is another huge benefit of the practice exams. You can take it with you anywhere. It's very portable, it's a website, it's not an app. So you can basically, anywhere where you've got internet access, you can jump on and do practice exams any time that you've got. All of my students I send and I ask for feedback. I ask them, everyone gets an email a few weeks after they've joined, and it basically says, hey, what were your problems before? What did you find afterwards? Now, question number 2, this is it here. I'll just drag me out the road again. After you joined, what did you find? Now, sorry, I don't know exactly who owns these, but watching your video helped put me at ease. Once I signed up, I started using the material. It was evident the content was very detailed and it quickly highlighted my deficient areas. Now, that's great because that's exactly what we're trying to do. And also, I've enjoyed your Facebook group. It's nice to chat with others doing the same thing. Look, guys, the Facebook group is huge, not in numbers. It's 170, I think, or 60 something. It's rapidly growing. And it's, this has to be an enjoyable process, and you need to be able to ask questions. You can't ask your instructor all the time. So the Facebook group is where you can ask me, you can ask other people. I'm not here to coach you. I'm not an instructor, but I do jump in there and answer most questions, or I let other students who just ahead of you answer those questions, because often if they've just studied it, they got the best knowledge of any. Okay, they're the ones that are immediately proficient. So here's another one. After joining, I loved it, and it helped me a lot in my exam preparation. Here's another one. I love the fact that I can take the quizzes as many times as I like. Now, there are some other practice exam websites out there, but they're much dearer because they charge, they give you, like, say, 2 or 3 attempts for, say, $55 or $60 for one exam, okay? And I didn't think that was good enough. So what I've done is thrown open my whole site for the one cost. Okay, this person says, I've set up my own tracking system, which is beautiful. That's what I want you to do. That's what I told you to do. And to track my progress with my quizzes. So let me now ask you a question, okay? I've given you a lot of content. Let me ask you a question. Okay, how many of you feel a bit like this? You're weighed down. You've got this huge body of content that you have to learn. I know that's how I feel when I have to study, okay? I go about the textbooks and, the content just seems to go on forever. Well, I've just shown you it doesn't have to be that way, okay? So I've got a better way. I've put together pilot practice exams. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to charge you this price, okay? This is just to highlight to you how much I think it's worth, okay, and how much the value really is there. Now, you can see there that I'm listing each section. RAAus 1 year unlimited access. RAAus, that was the final prep exams. After originally writing this site for the RAAus people, I went, wow, based on all the feedback I'm getting, how can we make this even better? And I rewrote a heap of exams just specifically to use at the last minute. So there's all the exam questions that you use to build your knowledge, and then there's the final prep ones you use to nail, be really exam ready. And then there's the RPL ones, there's the PPL section, and there's the RALs course. And then there's the CASA, which I haven't even included there, the CASA section, which I've automated all of their questions. So easily this course is worth well over $1,000. Okay, I'm basing that on the prices of the other types of courses, textbooks, packages that are out there. Okay, now you might be saying, yeah, but hang on, I'm only RALs, I'm only RPL, or I'm only PPL. So why would RAL section be relevant to RPL or PPL, etc.? Here's why. The RAL section has a lot of general terminology, okay, introductory stuff. That's going to help PPL and RPL people build that general knowledge. Okay, there's terms in there, terminology, phrases, phraseology. There's some stuff on, radio traffic, chatter, and stuff like that. The RPL section has this section on all the systems, the aircraft system, the electrical system, the cars, the cooling systems, okay? That's going to help you no matter whether you're RALs or PPL. You just need to know that stuff. Even though it might not specifically be in your exam in the same quantity as, say, the RPL students, if you use this as a tool to build your knowledge and be a better, safer pilot, that's going to help you. And the PPL section has this huge section on weather. Now, that's going to help the RPL and the RAA students stay safe, okay? The RAA students doing navigation, go and use the PPL weather section as well. Okay. The other thing is, the navigation. PPL and RAL students can jump from one section to the other and check out the different navigation questions. Yeah, sure, they might be coming out of a different syllabus, but it's still stuff you need to know. Now, the air legislation sections are different. They fall under different rules and they're not compatible. So I haven't included those in the value. So the total value is easily $985, and as I said, that's not including the CASA section, which I added after I'd made this slide. So before I show you the price that you're going to get it for, I just want to ask you this quick question. If all this site did, like if I gave you this, say at half price or quarter price or even better, if all this site did was made it easier for you to study instead of hard and boring, wouldn't that be worth it? Okay. If it made it much faster in around about half the time, wouldn't that be worth it? I think it would, wouldn't it? Okay. And if it gave you the confidence to know your content, that you're not going to fall for trick questions, okay, going into the exams, to know that you're ready, wouldn't it be worth it? I think it would. So, and then you can add in the Facebook group, you can add in, all the crossover between, you can add in the fact that you've got 12 months. All of those things I could probably, in my opinion, and I'm just asking you, would make it worth, a half, a quarter, a third of that price. So here's my offer, which is current today at the time of filming this. You can get started now. You can have full, unlimited 12 months access to the entire pilotpracticeexams.com site. That currently includes the course, but may not in the future, okay, for $67. Just $67. I mean, it's insane, when you think of the work that's gone into this, okay, compared to one textbook, the IT development cost, the design, the redesign, the research, taking on board the customer feedback, and it's a continuous process, setting up and administering the Facebook page, okay. You're getting access to all of that, the whole support mechanism, for basically the cost of 1 hour with an instructor. So as you can see, it's fantastic value. It's definitely going to help. You've seen the social proof. I just want to quickly reiterate the 3 secrets that you need to know. Okay, you need to know that heaps of people fail, and the reason they fail is because they try and read, those huge textbooks. They try and remember it, and it just doesn't work. Okay, whether you buy this site or not, whether you use the free exams, whatever, just don't go down that path, because it doesn't work and you'll end up being one of the ones that fails, okay, in a lot of cases. If you are going to go any other way, slash your study time by just studying the things you don't know. Go and do exams first, go to the content section and study the things that you need, not everything, okay? And then make sure you get used to ambiguous questions. Make sure you get used to the style that they're going to ask you. Okay, there are going to be trick questions in there. There are going to be misleading questions. You need to get some access to some of them from somewhere so that they don't shock you when you get them. So thank you very much. Good luck. I hope to see you in our Facebook group. I hope you're using the free exams, and I would love to have you on board and join for the price which you've seen. It's just $67. If you are going to join, do yourself a favour and join as soon as possible so that you do get the maximum benefit. You get it for as many exams as possible, or for as much lead up time as you can prior to the exam. And the last note is this: those of you that do join, please do all your other exams, but as you get close to the exams, focus on the final prep exams. The final prep exams are the closest thing that we have to the real exam. Thanks for watching. See you later. Bye.